Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. As I said in the comments, happy Friday to everybody. Already got some people in the house. Good to see you here. Okay, I just need to make sure a couple things are working because there's extra steps when I have a guest, but I'm very excited to have a guest today. So, all right, the question of the day. Have you ever been to Vermont? May seem like a random question, but it totally relates to our guest today. Erica's chuckling in the background.
Now I know why you thought I'd be laughing.
Yes. All right, let's see. Looks like we've got some kids in the house.
Well, he's
Yeah.
29. He's not really a kid.
All right, let's see.
And as you know very well, Vermont is my favorite place in the known universe. So,
Yes.
yes.
So you guys are listening to Erica in the background.
Hi,
Can't
everybody.
can't see her yet, but here she is.
Hello.
All right, switching back to the timer right now. Uh, okay. All right, so looks like things are working on YouTube and Facebook, and comments are coming in. So everything looks good, and you can hear Erica. All right, let's see here. Punkage is Punkudge is saying happy Friday. And this is Erica's son. Is that right, Erica?
Yes.
And hey, Aaron, good to have you here. Must be excited for your mom who's live streaming on Facebook and YouTube.
I always have
Uh,
been the cool mom.
you are pretty cool.
I try.
Okay, so the question of the day is, have you ever been to Vermont? And my answer is, I don't think so.
That's
Erica talks a lot about it. She's always posting beautiful photos of it. She escapes to Vermont. I call it escaping from reality. She escapes to Vermont, and but I don't think I've ever been. So I'm kind of jealous, and I keep um, uh, telling her that I'm going to join her one day. Um,
we should do that. We should run away for a girls' weekend.
Girls' Weekend. All right, so Aaron's singing his mom's praises. She knows more about tech than any other mother I know, so this is natural. Aaron, you might not be surprised to learn that my kids say the same thing about me. So Erica and have very similar career paths. That's funny. All right, so not getting any answers to the Vermont question yet, but got 30 seconds to go. Um, looks like all the tech is working. I'm going to take a drink before I start asking Erica questions. No,
Are you laughing at my Tigger mug?
I'm laughing at Aaron.
Oh, my son.
Legal tech, legal tech children unite. That's what I think you meant.
I think that's what he meant.
All right, so the timer's down, and we'll go ahead and officially start the show. So, welcome to the Legal Tech Mastery Show. I'm Amy Bowser, and you're watching a very cool show with very cool guests today. Erika and I have been friends a long time, and I'm very excited about having her here today. Let's go ahead and switch to the view where you can see both of us finally. So this is Erika. Zelda's saying hi, Amy and Erika. Good to see you here, Zelda.
One of my other favorite people.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Erika, I'm really excited to share our stories because they like align. You know, they're very, it's interesting because they're very similar. Let me fix hold on one second. On the fly, I'm going to shift you over a tad. You guys get to see how this works. There you go. On the fly. That's really cool about the software that I have, that I can do that. Okay. So first I want to start off with, I went to your LinkedIn profile, which I do for every guest, and I noticed that in the title, you know, where people can put curious and creative things about themselves, hopefully not boring things, you had 4 different things, which was perfect because that's your journey and you feel like you have all that. So can you tell us what those 4 specialties are and elaborate on why you decided to list all 4?
Well, I listed all 4 because they comprise my background. They kind of represent everything that I've done, or the culmination of the things that I've done in my career. So I have on there, I have legal technologist, product manager, e-discovery specialist, and technical trainer. And training is kind of at the root of everything that I've done. I've been training people since I was 14 and worked for Nassau County and was training people in how to do embroidery. And I've taught drama. Yeah, I've all kinds of training. My parents were both teachers. So to me, training is something that I don't think you can be taught how to be a trainer. I think trainers are born. You can't teach somebody. I can teach you how to do anything except how to be a trainer.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, you either have that in you or you don't. And if you don't have it, then it's going to be really hard for me to teach you how to do that. But if you do know how to teach, you can teach anything. So that's something at the root of what I've done. I started out in legal. I started out as a legal secretary years ago, and then I became the guru on whatever was being used in the office. And after a while, I started to think, you know, I could probably get a job just doing this part, you know, being somebody's help desk, rather than trying to do my job and also be a help desk. Mm-hmm. So I did that, had to leave legal for a very short time. Then I came back. Now I was an IT person with a legal background, and law firms just thought this was awesome. Yeah. I think I doubled my salary the first year I did that. Because law firms were so excited that I knew about law firms. I understood how they worked and what the environment was. I knew how to talk to lawyers. I liked lawyers, which a lot of people don't, but I do. I like working with smart people, and lawyers are smart. Yeah. Sometimes they can drive you a little crazy, I admit, but they're smart people, and they appreciate when someone is showing them how to get something done. So it's something that I really enjoyed. So I started out in help desk and basic IT, and then I switched over to training when I was getting tired of carrying things around, especially when I was pregnant. That wasn't a lot of fun. And so I did training for a long time. I was an IT trainer at several different law firms. And then I got to the point where I saw that IT systems were leaving me behind. I knew the software, but I didn't know the hardware. And I knew that I needed to do that if I wanted to have a well-rounded career. So I got myself a job as a system administrator for a different law firm where they took advantage of my training background, but they also let me learn the systems and networking. True, it was not a networking system that exists anymore, but it was good. It was very good knowledge.
Yeah.
And I worked my way up from that to IT manager for a couple of different law firms and really enjoyed it. But then I got to the point where IT got so big, it was making my head explode. I couldn't get my arms around it anymore. There were too many systems, too many new pieces of software. I would go to legal tech and just be completely overwhelmed by everything. So I wanted to focus a little bit more. Along the way, I picked up project management skills and also product management skills.
Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about eventually you went from what I call legal IT, which is IT in the legal industry, and
Right.
usually it's a law firm person, you know. And you and I have similar backgrounds for that too. I went from legal secretary to an IT position as a trainer, you know. And so eventually you moved to litigation support. So can you tell us about how that happened?
Well, that happened at a time when I was looking for a new position, and I was lucky enough to get a call from a recruiter saying that there was a position open with a small e-discovery team at a law firm. And I didn't really know that much about e-discovery, but I had worked on some very primitive e-discovery systems where we were using database structures to keep track of everything with for the paralegals. And I guess that was enough. They brought me in and they hired me on the spot. And I was really fortunate because I fell into a small team, but every person on that team was a mentor and was generous with information and taught me a ton. And by the end of my time there, I could move on to a much higher level position. I used my project management background and IT management background combined with training and my legal knowledge to put that all together, learn my e-discovery stuff, learned how to wrestle a load file into the ground, which was always a joy and a half, usually at 2 o'clock in the morning. But you learn this stuff and you get it down, and then after that, it's not so scary anymore. And that's how I ended up getting into e-discovery. And I am very proud to say that last year I was able to finally sit for the SEDS exam and passed it, which was, I felt, an enormous accomplishment. And so now I get to put CEDS after my name on professional things. But of course, it also means I get recruiters addressing emails to me as Dear SEDS. I don't know who they think that is.
Obviously, they
But
don't know what SEDS is.
yeah, no, they also don't read my resume very well. But that's okay because I just delete them. Not looking, don't care.
Okay, so we have a comment from Lana. Woe to rock stars on a Friday, which is segues perfectly, Lana, thank you, into my next question. Can you share how we met, Erika?
Yeah, we met a while ago. It was now quite a while ago when I was working at Linkletters, and I was the national membership director for Women in eDiscovery, an excellent organization. And any woman who is in eDiscovery and who is not a member of their local chapter, join. And if there isn't a local chapter, start one. So we met there. And then later on, we kept in touch. I think we saw each other at every legal tech.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, when I was working for a vendor company and I was their senior technical trainer, I did a training for your firm, your former firm. And that was fun because it was a very large group of people sitting quietly, very quietly in a room. And I was on the phone in New York and they were in DC. And that was, as always, that's always a fun thing when you're training people that you can't see and aren't talking to you. But they managed to get through it. They did okay. So that was how we met. And I think over the years, the fact that we have such similar backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
has really cemented our friendship. And also, I think fate has kept sort of pushing us together in various ways,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. Fate does that sometimes with people that I'm meant to know. They're like, no, you need to know this person. I'm going to keep putting you together until you get that straight.
Well, it's funny because when you trained my document review team, that's when, so I knew you through Women in E-Discovery, and, you know, we were mutually attracted, and then you did your job for me, right? And then I was like, whoa, because I can appreciate good training, just as you mentioned earlier, and you were an excellent trainer, and so I remember writing a little review for your boss, and, you know, wow, this person... Hearing Erika's voice for the first time in 40 years.
Oh my. Hi, Joel. We went to high school together.
Oh, wow. That's the thing about
We also
Facebook.
went to,
It's all text, you know, so now he's hearing your
yeah,
voice. That's cool.
yeah. We also went to college together, but the school was so big we never saw each other.
And Zelda's reminding us that she knows what said means.
Yes, she does. Certified e-discovery
And
specialist. Sorry.
and then Adam over on YouTube is saying such a great interview. Adam's a friend of mine.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Okay, so we're going to talk a lot today about how we have similar backgrounds, but the first thing I want to talk about is I think it was 2 years at Legal Tech, 2 years ago, that we had dinner and we were comparing notes on documentation, creating software documentation, and what we thought was important. So I'm doing that again now, at working part-time at CasePoint, helping them with that. But can you share some of your best practices and for software documentation, especially in an agile, development cycle type atmosphere, and also some good ways that you've learned to teach legal teams, because that's, like you said earlier, we're teaching, legal teams. So,
well, I think documentation is sort of the overlooked piece of the puzzle. So many times I've worked at companies and firms where documentation wasn't even thought of, or if there was, it was some dusty thing that sat in a drawer and nobody looked at it, and no one even had the electronic file. It was just this paper file, and we don't really use that. But documentation can be the key to keeping a successful system running. It provides a path for people to use when they come on board. It shows you your history, where you've been, and it gives you a structure and a framework to take it into the next step. So if you have software that is being changed frequently, if you have documentation, first of all, if you document everything, the software has been. And as changes are made and you do new iterations of the documentation, you can compare them to each other. So if something is not working properly, or somebody says, we used to have this feature and now it's gone, what happened? You can go back into the documentation and say, okay, what did we do here? What happened? Why did we take this feature away? What was the thought process behind that? Because documentation doesn't necessarily only mean the kind of documentation that people use when they want to learn the software. It's also documenting, what did the coders do? What did the developers do? And that's something, again, that gets overlooked a lot because it just isn't thought of. But it's something that I think is really important. So if you're, like you and I are now, both in a product situation,
mm-hmm.
keeping that documentation up and maintained is really important. And keeping documentation for your users up and maintained is also incredibly important. They have something they can refer to when they need it. So what I do when I write documentation is I try to find the hook. I want to find the thing that's going to make attorneys say, this is really useful for me. This is going to make my job easier for me.
Yeah.
Once you do that, they just open up like a flower, because attorneys can be a little bit wary of new software, new systems. I don't want to be bothered with this. I don't have the time to take training. I don't want to read this.
Mm.
But if you can sit them down and show them, look, This is going to save you X amount of time. This is going to save you X amount of steps. This is going to be a system that's going to ensure that there aren't problems with something. You can do, say, file documents or create documents with less risk of including something that shouldn't be there. You'll get their attention. And that's the same philosophy I use when I train legal teams. When I train, whether it's one lawyer or 300 lawyers. And yes, that was a really fun day.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, if you show them how this is going to help them, what this will do for them, you've won them as a friend. You've got their attention. They understand. You're not trying to make them feel foolish because they don't know something. You're trying to show them this is a tool. It's a tool like any other tool, and it's going to help you do your job better.
Yeah, I always try to say something along the same lines of just give me 5 minutes, let me show you one thing, like baby steps, just trying to get them,
Right.
because it's like, what's in it for me is their question, right? Just like you're saying. So we have a question from Zelda. What are 2 things end users need to do to prepare for the training?
I think one thing would be definitely to read over any documentation that has been given out. Read that over, get yourself familiar with what you're going to be doing. And the other is to ask questions. Maybe you can ask questions of the trainer in advance, or maybe you can ask questions of people who have used the software already and say, how did this work for you? What are we doing with this? What is this system meant to do? So that once you go into the training, you feel comfortable. You're like, okay, I've read the training documentation. I understand what this is about. And I talked to a couple of people who did the training already, and they've said that this software is really helpful for them.
Right, yeah. So Kim is saying you're rocking it.
Hi, Kim.
Okay, so we have the training thing in common, we have the documentation thing in common, and now, unbeknownst to either of us,
That's
it's kind of
right.
weird. We both did it, and so now we're both working very closely with software product teams, the teams that are creating software in our industry. And I'm having a ball just using all my experience, leveraging that experience, hands-on experience, with software, and also working directly with lawyers. So I'm curious, what are you excited about working with your current company?
Well, I have to say that my current company, InfoTrack US, is a very different environment than I've ever worked in before. It's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. We release almost on a daily basis. So we have a team of 8 developers, and they rock. I mean, they are amazing. They can basically handle, I think, anything anybody throws at them, and they do it cheerfully, and they work crazy hours sometimes because it needs to get done, and nobody has to ask them anything like that. It's just, yep, we got to do this, needs to be done, going to take care of it. And that is really, the attitude that they have is just amazing. We have a really great suite of products, and it's exciting to see the kind of tools that we've got, because we don't really have anybody who's doing what we do. It's a unique concept. It's really fun, and I have a ball trying to come up with, well, what other tools can we provide? What else can we do for attorneys to make their lives easier? That's really fun. And one of the nice things is too, is that we are a startup here in the US, but the company is long established in Australia. So it's like having a big brother that's kind of watching over us, that we can go to if we need help, if we need something worked on in the middle of the night because, we're all exhausted. So we've got this team behind us. Yes, they speak a little funny sometimes, but it's okay. We figure it out.
Okay, so when I
I'm
saw
gonna get
you
shot.
when I saw you at Legal Tech, you were excited about the aggregating searches and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about I mean, I do searches, I run searches, I don't run all of the different kinds of searches, but I'm a searching person, so I can appreciate when you're aggregating platforms into one search. So can you talk a little bit about what InfoTrack does in terms of bringing multiple platforms into one place that you can search against?
Sure. We work with a number of different companies. I have a little list just because I'm not going to remember them all off the top of my head. Docket Alarm, Pacer, Red Vision, Tyler Tech Odyssey, Dun& Bradstreet, CSC, Bloomberg Excelsior, and DocuSign.
Okay.
And what that means is that we provide our attorneys, our clients, with a single sign-in, very easy. Come in, everything is laid out for you. We keep when I first started to look at our software platform, I thought, gosh, there's no bells and whistles. It's so basic looking. And then I realized, wow, that's actually a good thing because
Good
it's
thing for
very basic.
attorneys.
Yeah, it's a good thing for attorneys. There's no bells and whistles to confuse them. It's very straightforward. Everything looks like you're filling out a basic form. And then our software with our brilliant coders is doing all the work behind the scenes for you. So you don't have to worry about all this stuff. You just come in, you put in your information, or you come in through, say, if you use a client management system like Smokeball, Leap, or Clio, InfoTrack is a button right in there. So you just come in, you click on the InfoTrack button and you say, okay, I want to run a Dun & Bradstreet search, or I want to run a property lien search, or I have this company name and I have a feeling they might be hiding assets. So you run a search that shows you everything they're connected to, what properties do they own, where are they located, et cetera. All of these things, again, one sign in, one uniform look. You don't have to run around trying to figure out, oh God, what's my password for this one?
Yeah.
Or what's the website for that one?
Yeah.
You don't need any of that. So we have basically our sort of sweet spot is working with litigation, corporate, and real estate attorneys. So we have tools for all of them. We have title and lien searches, property searches, filing 1099 S forms electronically, property ownership lookup, and in December and January alone, we had almost 4,600 1099 S forms filed on our site, and that's a lot. Corporate attorneys use our Dun & Bradstreet and our UCC searches, incorporation services, and stock certificates. So you can get all of these things printed. Just put in your company, what do you need, how many copies do you need, and again, our system takes care of everything else, and you get a nice, neat package in the mail. We have litigation and corporate, which we serve best for, and real estate, but we also are going to be expanding. We don't think that that's going to limit us. As we go on, we will be adding more items, and I'm kind of very excited to see what we're going to come up with next.
I saw that you mentioned some case management products, but there's
Yeah.
also a few document management software that you integrate with. I think I saw Net Documents and
Yeah, we work with some of those too. That's something that we will expand so that we can continue to do that. We are interested in integrating with basically any company that is providing a service to the legal community. We can find a way to integrate with them and again make that one step, one button system that we are working with so much easier to use for the attorneys. So it's just, again, whether you're in a document management system, whether you're in a case management system, click on the InfoTrack button that we will add to the system and you just come right over.
okay,
So it's pretty simple.
right. So then the other cool thing that we were talking about at Legal Tech, which is how you ended up being on my show because you got me excited about it. Was the e-filing, the new e-filing thing that InfoTrack has. So can you talk a little bit about that?
This is very exciting for me, kind of on a personal note, because it was my first big project that I steered through the system. So that was, huge learning curve, but very exciting. So I'm sure that most of the folks in the legal community know that e-filing is becoming mandatory in most jurisdictions. And at some point, it's going to be mandatory for the whole country. We're not there quite yet.
Right.
A lot of things went online January 1st of this year. Others are going online July 1st. Some are hitting next year, but at some point we're going to get to where it's mandatory everywhere. So we set about to start with the state of Illinois. And as of a few weeks ago, we are live and we have already had quite a lot of filings, which I look at every day because they make me really happy. But you can come onto our system, and I did give you a screenshot if you wanna
Yeah.
pop that up, that when you get a chance. Here we go. So this is what it means. This is what our software looks like in general, by the way. Very simple, very straightforward. You come through here, you fill out all the necessary fields. Of course, there's more further down. It's a longer form. And then
Right.
you add your documents and you send it off to the court. And then the court will send back to you, if the case has been approved, if everything is okay, you'll get your your docket number. If there's a problem, you'll get a message that tells you it was rejected, what was the problem. And all of this information, if you use your case management system, all of this information will feed back into the case management system. So you'll see it right there. You'll open up the case and you'll see, here's the email from the court. Court said it's approved. Here's the docket number. Now, if you need to do another filing, you just click on the InfoTrack button in there. And again, it takes you back. You do another filing. So it's really pretty cool. We've got Illinois, like I say, up and running. California will be up and running fairly soon. And then we have New York in the works, and we will keep adding new states. As I said, when we got certified for Illinois, 1 down, 49 to go.
So I remember as a trainer, I was a law firm trainer when e-filing first came out. And I remember training users how to, log into the e-filing court system and, show them how the limitations on the file sizes for uploading. And, years later, they're splitting documents into multiple files just to meet that minimum upload. Does InfoTrack, how does it handle that in terms
Well,
of file
a lot
sizes?
of the courts,
Good.
yeah, a lot of the courts have raised the file sizes a bit, so it's not as small
Okay.
as it was. I think at first that they had problems with that. If
Gotcha.
there's a problem, we will convert the document. First of all, some courts are still finicky. They don't want to accept things in native format, so they want it in PDF
PDF.
format.
Yeah.
If you try to load up a document that is in native format, we have a converter that will look at it and say, do you want to convert this? Because there are some courts that will accept it in native format. So we
Yeah.
ask you, do you want to convert it?
Okay.
So that's one way of doing it. And we will be adding at some point a file splitter if it's necessary. Again, with the larger uploads now, I don't know that that's going to be necessary, but it's something that we have on our task sheet to look at and look into.
Gotcha.
But I think, the courts are becoming much more sophisticated now as far as dealing with technology. I mean, you and I both know we were there through the days when, judges didn't, let any kind of technology into the courtroom because the devil might come in with it. And, I remember a judge saying
Yeah.
that. It was pretty interesting. So it's come a huge, huge way. And with all the courts eventually getting online and increasing their IT capacity, being able to handle larger documents and native files and things like that, I think we're looking at a very sort of a brave new world kind of thing. I think it's going to be a lot of the restrictions that we saw in the past will be gone.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be pretty exciting, really, pretty exciting.
So we have a question from Zelda that's left over from a previous conversation we were having.
Okay.
How did you transition from being litigation support to becoming a technical trainer? It was actually the other way around, but you might
Right.
want to
Well,
answer the second part of the question. What
sure.
credentials are required to qualify as a trainer?
Well, I did go, actually, at one point, I did go from being a lit support professional back to being a trainer.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I did. So I had been a trainer. I'd been a pure IT trainer. Then I got into lit support, and then I was asked by a vendor company to come to them and do their training for them.
Right.
So I did have the training background. Now, as far as credentials, that's tough. There has never really been, I think, any kind of a formal credentialing body for training. So I
Yeah.
think what you need to have is a good grounding in the subject matter. So if you want to teach lawyers, you need to have worked in a law firm. You need to really understand the software that they're using. And you need to be able to train. If you can do that, then I think if you do some demo classes for somebody, they will see you have the ability to do this. If you're having problems with that, maybe you might hook up with, say, Women in E-Discovery or the paralegal organization or some other groups. There's also the professional legal trainers group out there, and see if you can get to know them, network with them, and perhaps give a session for somebody. The paralegal group, I did some sessions for them a few years ago when some of the paralegals were expressing interest in learning about e-discovery and transitioning into e-discovery. So I did several sessions for them. And I think somebody who has that background and wants to be a trainer might present themselves to them and say, hey, I would love to do some sessions for you if you'd like. And that will give you some experience as a trainer, and then you can turn around and apply for jobs and say, yes, I haven't worked as a trainer for officially yet, but I have done these sessions, and they've been, here are my evaluations. They were very successful. I
Yeah.
know bar associations do that as well. I did several sessions for the Suffolk County Bar, the Nassau County Bar, and the New York Bar.
I think, you said early on, one of the key points was you have to be a good trainer or you're not going to train. So being in front of people and getting that feedback of whether or not you did a good job of articulating whatever you're trying to train is one thing. But I also would add, to everything you said, I would add, don't you agree that there's a certain level of organization and we have to organize the training, like we create a training outline, right? So it's a big process to go through to figure out what comes first, which lesson comes next, Would you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. I think that is something that also, like documentation, gets overlooked. I've seen some pretty scary training outlines.
Me
Um,
too.
that I've had to revise extensively, as in delete them. Um, yeah, that is something as a trainer that should come fairly naturally. I think if you're a good trainer, it should come pretty naturally to look at a subject matter and say, okay, here's what I want to start with. Here's what people need to know first. You have to give them a little bit to go on at first, get them comfortable with that, and then add another layer and add another layer and add another layer. It should be the way, I can go all the way back to when I used to teach Word and Excel.
Yeah.
It's building blocks.
Yeah.
You have to start small. You have to start with some basic features. Once people are comfortable with that, then you can add more features. And I think when people are trying to teach things like e-discovery, you need to do a lot of defining of terms first.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get people to be comfortable with, when I say load file, what do I mean?
Yeah.
When I talk about the size of a document population, what do these numbers mean? What are we really talking about? I think the first few lessons should just be defining terms and walking people through scenarios so they understand what are we dealing with here. Then we can look at the software and say, okay, all that stuff we just talked about, here's how to apply it practically. Here's the software, here's what we need to do with it. And I think that's, a really key thing. I think that's a very important point. And it goes to making out the outline. Start with defining terms, start with basic things, move into adding on a few additional items to those early terms, and then you can start easing people into actually, hands-on. And I think also one of the problems with training that I've seen is it's not hands-on enough.
Right.
You can lecture
Was hoping
people
you'd
all
get to that
day.
part.
Yeah.
That's one of my pet
You can
peeves.
lecture people all day, but if you don't let them get their hands dirty,
Yeah.
they're never really going to understand it.
I was going to say let them drive. I always say let them drive. If they're not driving, as in hand on a mouse, they're not going to retain it as much. Wouldn't you say that patience is another virtue in terms of answering Zelda's question?
Well, I'm an Aries and we're not terribly patient. But yes, when I have my training hat on, it seems to give me the ability to have infinite patience, because you have to be able to understand not everybody learns in the same way. Some people are visual learners,
Right.
some people are oral learners. They need to hear it. And some people are practical learners. They really don't get it until, as we said, they have their hands on that keyboard and they're doing the item. So you do have to have patience with people. You have to understand that not everybody is going to catch on right away. I mean, I remember when I was training secretaries in the new version of Word, and when I was ripping them away from their beloved WordPerfect,
I did the
which
same
kind of
thing.
broke my yeah, kind of broke my heart, but had to do it.
Do you remember
Um,
teaching him a mouse? Like Forward Perfect was
oh God,
shortcuts, and then here's
I
a
remember
mouse.
I remember finding secretaries crying hysterically in the bathroom
Oh,
because they're never going I'm never going to get this. I might as well quit now. They're going to fire me anyway. And it's like, look, let's go back to the classroom. We'll sit for a while. We'll go over this until you feel comfortable. So yes, patience is extremely important.
okay.
And as well as having a little bit of understanding where your trainees are coming from. Are you training a group of people that are terrified of technology?
Yeah.
You know, that think their jobs are on the line and they're scared to death. I've done that several times, and
Hmm.
I literally, like I said, I found people crying in the bathroom. I had somebody go and throw up in the bathroom because they were just scared to death.
Yeah.
They thought new technology and new software meant that's it. They're throwing all of us out and they're going to bring in more, different people. So understanding that, understanding how attorneys feel sometimes when you're training them in something and they feel like you think they're stupid. Oh, do you think I'm stupid because I don't know this?
And they'll say
No,
that. They'll interrupt class
right,
to
they
say, "Do
will.
you think I'm stupid?"
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, no, I don't think you're stupid. I think you do a really important job that I couldn't do,
Yeah.
but it's my job to show you how to use this tool to do your job better. So
Right.
I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying here's a new tool for you to use. So there's a lot of patience involved. There's a little bit of psychology involved. There's a lot of therapy involved.
Christine is saying
Sometimes,
soft skills are important, which is what you're
yes,
describing. Yeah.
yep. Soft skills are very important,
Yeah.
and having a soft manner and a friendly manner
I
is
use
also
humor
really
too. I
important.
mean, I try
Yep.
and loosen it up. All that tension you're describing, I try to loosen it up with some humor.
Yep. I mean, you can tell by this. I have no sense of humor
Yeah.
whatsoever. Um, but yeah, humor and kindness and a smile and some jokes go a long way. I can remember, people just panicking and everything, and it helps a lot if you are a human too, and you help them
Yes.
through that.
That's a good way to say it. Karen's saying tech was very scary when it first came out. Lots of pressure to learn it right away, which is another thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was scary to figure out what should you learn right away. There were so many different systems and so much going on. It was almost like closing your eyes and throwing a dart at something and just trying to figure out what should I do? Everybody thought WordPerfect was going to be the big thing. Then Word came along. Everybody thought, uh, you know, uh, one network system was going to be really popular, and then it turned out, nope, that went by the wayside, and now we have something else. And then some people thought the internet was never going to be anything.
All right. Well, I want to let everybody get back to their jobs and let you
Sure.
get back to yours. But I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your background, your journey, and what you're excited about with this company you're working for. I think it's hilarious, and that we're both working literally with product teams, software product teams now. But I'm having fun. Sounds like you're having fun too.
Yep. I think
So.
we're just twins separated at birth.
Well, I think it leverages a lot of our skill sets. It really does.
It
And
does.
working with developers, they're a different kind of personality. A lot of them don't even with developers when they're like, "Why does the user want to do that again? That doesn't make any sense." And we're like, "Well, this is the reality of how
This
legal
is
teams use the
why.
software." Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I experienced some of that in my last job. Fortunately, the team that I'm working with now, they are considerably more open to things, and like the fact that I can be a subject matter expert for them and explain to them what's going on at the law firm and why do they need, why did they just want to understand what's going on and how these functions are used, not, they don't question it. They don't say, well, that's stupid or anything like that. So it's good. But yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should
Okay.
read a few psych books.
All
Okay,
right. Well,
well,
I'm
thank
going to
you.
let you go, and thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep,
Take care.
thank you.
Have a good weekend,
Bye-bye.
everybody.